Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A Quebec judge has ruled a Montreal man who left Alice Tukiapik's body on a couch covered with a blanket for 6 months will serve no jail time. Judge Pierre Lebel sentenced Francesco Sensalona to 10 months, 5 months of it house arrest, and 100 hours of community service. Nicodema, the brother, was given a suspended sentence for jail time already served. Both brothers will do community service hours and be on probation for 2 and 3 years. In May 2025, Francesco and Nicodema pleaded guilty to committing an indignity to Tukiapik's corpse, a 41-year-old from Nunavik in northern Quebec. Francesco is the former partner of the victim. The autopsy was unable to determine cause of death due to the degradation of the body, but the brothers are not believed to be responsible. Both brothers' mental health was taken into account with the sentence. It was an emotional conclusion for the family as a long process came to an end. Despite that, a family spokesperson said the family is not satisfied with the sentence.
And the fact that basically what was said is that it's acceptable to commit violence to a vulnerable woman, to desecrate her body for months, and to get away with it, basically. I think they're feeling relief that this process is over. It's been an extremely drawn-out process, and Alice's family have been the ones carrying this on their back the whole several years, flying in for hearings to be postponed, only to fly in again. So I think they're just feeling relief that this is over.
A trial began Tuesday in Winnipeg for a First Nation man who allegedly killed 5 people over 2 years ago. With the details, here's T.R. Wheatley.
7 men and 5 women will make up the jury that will decide whether or not Jamie Felix is guilty of second-degree murder for fatally shooting 5 people in a Winnipeg home on November 26, 2023. According to the Crown, Felix had been on a days-long crack cocaine binge in the house where a shooting occurred. Felix had left, and when he returned, he allegedly shot the 5 people inside. Among the victims were sisters Crystal and Shannon Beardy of Lake St. Martin, as well as Malik Lesari Lesical and Dylan Lavalley. The 5th, Sean Marco, died in hospital in late 2025. Felix sat alone in the prisoner's box on the right side. The jury sat to the left. First on the stand Tuesday was Winnipeg Police Service Constable Chad Swinarchuk, who testified Felix fired off 9 shots total. Swinarchuk told the court when he entered the home he could smell blood. Court also heard the initial call to police said that people had been stabbed, but when police arrived on the scene, they quickly saw it involved gunshots. Next to take the stand was Constable Scott Blanco. Blanco testified when he arrived he believed 2 had been deceased on the scene and a woman appeared to still be alive but had a gunshot wound to her forehead. Blanco also testified the 3 other victims were taken to the Health Sciences Center, where 2 later died. Blanco said he rode in the ambulance with one victim, Sean Marco, who had told Blanco he believed the shooter to be Jamie Houle, to which defense asked him to clarify the name and if he had asked the victim how to spell it, to which Blanco said no. The third to take the stand was Patrol Sergeant Lindsay McLaughlin with the identification unit. She testified she was one of the officers who identified those that were shot in the house. McLaughlin also went over photos from the scene and described each photo in detail to the jury, who all had a copy in their own lap. Felix has pleaded not guilty. The trial will continue for the next month with testimony expected from more Winnipeg police officers, first responders, a pathologist, and some members of Felix's family. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thanks, TR. To Saskatchewan now, where after a number of incidents involving Indigenous patients and security guards in provincial hospitals, the Prince Albert Grand Council held a town hall discussion on keeping their constituents safe in healthcare facilities. Video journalist Rachel May was in Prince Albert for the meeting.
The safer community. So I'm very, very happy with the outcome of the meeting.
Grand Chief Brian Hardlot said that despite high tensions between security and Indigenous people, everyone came to the table to talk about safety. On February 13th, chiefs, the Saskatchewan Health Authority, police, fire, security, and community members met in Prince Albert behind closed doors at the PAGC Urban Services Centre to share concerns and discuss a better path forward to prevent harm to Indigenous patients. The meeting follows two high-profile incidents. A 2025 video showing a man removed from Prince Albert's Victoria Hospital and later found face down in a snowbank, and the death of cancer patient Trevor Dubois after an altercation at Royal University Hospital in Saskatoon. Hardlot says a key message from the discussion was the need for greater understanding.
Cross-cultural training was a big discussion and a recommendation from the speakers, but it was also a good opportunity to hear from the security companies.
PAGC Vice Chief Joseph Tassani said substance abuse remains a concern, but believes a strong solution is possible if security organizations, not just those at the hospitals, work together to develop tools to address these unique challenges.
We know about the challenges that are out there, and we kindly ask, the security companies to respect our people, our Indigenous women and men that are out there that are struggling with addictions. There's no need for violence, and the de-escalation tactics are more important than any violence that is out there.
He added that experiencing Indigenous culture is essential.
So just that the training and inclusion and understanding why we're here is so important. Not just a 1-2 day Indigenous. Come to the communities. Understand the challenges. Go to Montreal Lake for the fish derby. Right? Go to Stanley Mission Poker Rally and eat some neck bones. Talk to the elders and understand what our community is about.
Richard Dagenet oversees support services for the Saskatchewan Health Authority.
We're committed to being accountable. We're committed to being transparent. We're not trying to hide behind anything.
He says no one should feel unsafe entering a healthcare environment, regardless of why they are seeking care.
From the Protective Services point of view, we're really committed to making sure that everyone feels safe receiving care in any of our facilities, and that should not depend on your background or your culture or your heritage. And we are continuing to try to improve to make sure that everyone does feel safe.
Further meetings are expected in the coming weeks to finalize a plan to ensure no one is afraid of security in hospitals or health clinics. Rachel May, APTN National News, Prince Albert.
In the capital of the Northwest Territories, there is growing concern around increasing crime and the lack of public safety. And residents shared their frustrations, fears, and lived experiences at a town hall this week. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has that story.
What you are seeing here is none of Dene values. This is addiction.
Nolene Villebrun wants a conversation rooted in community, accountability, and culturally responsive solutions. She, along with roughly 70 others, are attending a town hall on crime and safety in Yellowknife.
Full-fledged addiction because of our system not being strong, the rules not being strong enough. I have family members who are addicted, who steal from us. So we're not immune to this addiction and the behaviors of theft to feed that addiction.
Town hall organizers, Yellowknife MLAs Robert Hawkins and Kieran Tetstart say it isn't a matter of whether the RCMP are doing their job. Rather, it is a question of what job the public would like them to be doing.
They're essentially almost a full RCMP member. They can get out sooner. They are cost effective. They know the community. They know the people, and they have a different way of dealing with folks than someone who's just moved up here to the Northwest Territories for a 2 or 3 year stint.
For some, they question the effectiveness and potential consequences of added law enforcement and want to focus tonight's conversation on how trauma is showing up in public spaces. Sylvia Lefebvre shares openly about past addiction and homelessness, but maintains the scene on the street as unrecognizable.
When we were ashamed of being addicted, we drank in the alleys. You know, and these people have free reign now. Why are people smoking crack in the parkade? Why are people watching this stuff in the open? Why are they allowed to do this? Because nothing is done to them.
Lefebvre turns the attention to private security presence in Yellowknife and says she fears for the safety of Indigenous people who have been targets of numerous documented incidents of racism and violence in recent months.
What is going on with these security companies? 80–90% of them are not from this country. They are getting their permanent residence papers. They don't treat people like that in their country. How about giving them a course about how our people live?
Lou Rankin, who works in the very building where the town hall is being held, offers practical measures for harm reduction to help the most vulnerable.
One of the things that I find that these marginalized folks are looking for is warmth, right? Could we possibly look at as a resource or some mobile warming stations? They're looking for washrooms.
Range Lake MLA Kieran Tetstart told residents their voices would be carried into the Legislative Assembly.
Taken your stories and we've turned it into action, whether it's bringing those stories to the Legislative Assembly, bringing them to standing committees, moving motions, or even changing budgets to bring those resources in. That's what's possible tonight.
The town hall comes at a time when legislation is being discussed at the Legislative Assembly, aimed to give communities and police more tools to combat crime and drug activity. This includes the Trespass Act, Civil Forfeitures Act, and Safer Communities and Neighborhoods Act. All pieces of legislation the GNWT says will assist in disrupting criminal activity by shutting down properties involved in drug trade and hit criminal operations financially. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Thanks, Charlotte. Important conversation there. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you'd like to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. You can read and watch our stories by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Time for a quick break, and then we'll be joined by the Vice Chair of the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs. Stick around. Welcome back. Jamie Schmale is the Conservative Member of Parliament for Haliburton-Kawartha Lakes in Ontario. He's also the Vice Chair on the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs and the Conservative Shadow Minister for Crown Indigenous Relations. He joined us in studio earlier today. Jamie, thanks for taking some time for us here today. As mentioned in the intro, you're the Vice Chair on the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs, which always has big issues in front of it. One of those right now is Bill S2, which would end the second generation cutoff. Is this something that the Conservative Party supports?
You know, this bill, the amendments that were passed in the Senate are something that we've been looking into, and we are greatly anticipating that coming to committee. At the same time, we are supportive of these changes. We are very excited about the Senate's discussion that they had regarding the second generation cutoff change. As you know, there are two parts to Bill S2, the enfranchisement, which we supported in a previous parliament, and now the amendments brought forward through the Senate. At this point, it looks like the government has indicated that they want to slow walk this through. We, on the other side, think there's a different path, and I think if we work together with the Senate, I think there is a path forward to getting this finished.
Yeah. Another big matter that routinely comes before the Standing Committee is on Indigenous procurement. There were headlines recently about nearly $300 million in contracts going to companies that have since been removed from the Indigenous Business Directory. But when you look at the companies that were removed, only a few dozen of those were because they didn't meet the criteria. Do you think the number of fraudulent businesses is perhaps being over-exaggerated?
I think this is the thing we're trying to pressure the government on. Let's have a look at the program in its entirety. As we found out through a study in the previous parliament, there was fraud being taken place, in particular the Arrive Can or the Arrive Scam app that showed that there was massive fraud in that whole program, and the fact that there was very little, if any, Indigenous participation in that, and yet there were companies claiming Indigenous identity. And so we were forcing the government to take a look at this. But at the same time, there was also a recent article that showed the vast majority of these businesses that did get that funding that was secured for Indigenous companies were in the Ottawa area. There was very little penetration out to the real world, and that is something we had an issue with at all. So we would like to see more Indigenous participation in government contracts, but we also need a program that is going to actually reward those that are Indigenous, but also punish those that are faking their identity to get included and bypass a lot of the procurement policies.
Yeah, when looking for some of those fakes, I thought maybe the numbered companies would be easy targets, but even looking at some of those, they were just economic development firms for First Nations here in Manitoba. APTN, another company removed from the list there. How can the government ensure Indigenous businesses are the ones benefiting from the Indigenous procurement policy?
There are lots of Indigenous organizations already set up that have offered to help. They have come to us. They, I would assume, went to the government and had same conversations, which has let us be involved. Indigenous identity is what we do. This is something that can be done with organizations already set up. We don't need a new bureaucracy. We can lean on Indigenous organizations themselves, entities that have proven track records. Let's use that knowledge, let's use that expertise and put it to work here.
You're here in Manitoba just after Louis Riel Day. One of the recent things to come forward in the House of Commons, of course, was the introduction of a self-government treaty with the Manitoba Métis Federation. Is this legislation that the Conservatives support?
We're working our way through the process. One of the reasons why I'm in Winnipeg today is to have those conversations with the Manitoba Métis Federation or the Red River Métis. We have some concerns about the treaty itself, some areas that potentially could encroach on other Métis nations itself, and there are some jurisdictional questions that need to be answered before we can take a full position on this. We want to respect the fact that they have reached the point where they're at treaty, but at the same time, we don't want to put other nations out, like the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, Alberta, etc., that have concerns regarding their jurisdiction being encroached upon.
Like the conversation we could have there. Jamie, we'll have to leave it there, though. Appreciate you taking some time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Heading south of the Medicine Line now, where our Montreal reporter Savannah Craig is currently in Minneapolis, Minnesota, outside the Whipple Detention Center. She's doing a series of reports on Native American interactions with immigration and custom agents, better known as ICE. Savannah, what have you discovered so far in Minneapolis?
I'm here in Minneapolis outside of the Whipple Detention Center, where the message is clear. As we hear from protesters around me, they want ICE out of Minneapolis. While we've been hearing from federal officials that ICE is winding down their operations in Minneapolis, people here, the resistance is still strong. I've been speaking with people who are a part of patrols looking out for ICE, whether it's by foot or on the ground. They're keeping an eye on federal agents, their whereabouts, what neighborhoods they're in, and alerting their community. Keeping their community on watch of where they should keep an eye out for ICE. And some people I've spoken to have said that they themselves or their neighbors, their loved ones, feel a little bit more secure leaving their homes, but the fear is still there. I've been speaking with one woman today who provides band cards, tribal IDs for her community, and this is a way that people can feel more secure. You'll hear more about this tomorrow night on APTN National News. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Savannah. Looking forward to your reporting this week. A new episode of Face to Face is coming up tonight right after this newscast. We've got a preview for you after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And Susie caught this bird seed thief red-handed from her back deck in Nose Creek, small remote community in Alberta. Thanks for sharing, Susie. You can send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, +1 for Fredericton, cloudy, and 4 above for Halifax. -10 for Kuujjuaq, 4 below for Happy Valley Goose Bay. -3 in Montreal, -8 for Chibougamau. -4 with snow in Sault Ste. Marie, cloudy, and 3 below for Ottawa. -4 and flurries for Thunder Bay, -7 for Sioux Lookout. -18 for Thompson, 13 below for Norway House. Flurries and -5 for Winnipeg and Brandon. -10 for Regina, sunny and -14 for Saskatoon. -15 in Meadow Lake, 23 below in Uranium City. In northern Alberta, -21 in High Level, 24 below for Fort Chipewyan. -23 for Edmonton, 17 below in Lethbridge. +4 for Vancouver and Victoria. -16 in Prince George, 13 below for Smithers. -16 in Old Crow, -18 for Whitehorse. 30 below in Yellowknife, -21 for Norman Wells. -29 in Sax Harbor, 15 below for Nunavik. -34 for Baker Lake, 33 below in Chesterfield. -33 for Resolute, 35 below for Clyde River. Longtime Cree journalist Nelson Bird is our guest on an all-new episode of Face to Face tonight. After nearly 3 decades in news, Bird stepped away to teach the next generation of Indigenous journalists. He says more Indigenous people need to get involved in the industry.
We're storytellers. Indigenous people are known to be storytellers, and I think that's what's key to what we do, and I think that's what's key to going to attract more people into this industry. Now I teach classes in storytelling, basically journalism, but we call it storytelling, and really it is. It really is about telling a story. What needs to happen, though, is we need more mainstream newsrooms to hire more Indigenous people. You know, not just as reporters, but as camera people, as producers, as editors, in all aspects. But that also means that more Indigenous people need to get into those fields.
And you can catch our entire interview with Nelson in about 90 seconds from now. We're all out of time for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For more or news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. Creason will be back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time with your first look at Wednesday's news. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Stick around. Face to Face is up next. Have a great day.